back to where we left off yesterday. Yeah. So let's just review here this slide. So what we're doing is following the path that food takes as it goes through human digestive system, starting in the mouth, then esophagus, into the stomach, through the stomach, into the small intestine. And again, along the way, various types of enzymes break down the foods. Foods mechanically broken down in the mouth. Salivary amylase in the mouth start to break down the starches. In the stomach, proteins start to be broken down as food moves into the intestine. Various other enzymes help break down different types of molecules. Bile is released to help emulsify those fats that have been consumed so that they can be broken down easier. Again, that bile is produced in the liver, gets sent to the gallbladder for storage until it's needed, and then gets released. And we talked about gallstones can form inside of that gallbladder, leading to a lot of pain, leading to blockages, so bile can't flow correctly, and sometimes people have their gallbladder removed. It's a fairly common procedure. All right, the pancreas then produce pancreatic juices, which contain a whole series of different enzymes, okay? And those enzymes include proteases, lipases, amylase, also sodium bicarbonate. So we talked about this yesterday, right? Yeah, sodium bicarbonate is alkaline, it's basic, it has a high pH, so it helps to neutralize that acidic kind that enters the small intestine from the stomach, leading to a pH of intestinal juices of slightly above neutral, 7.3 to 8.2. Now the other thing that this means is that the enzymes that are working in our stomachs are different enzymes than those that work in our small intestine. And why is that important? If you think back to our discussion of enzymes, why is it important that there's different enzymes, different proteases that work in the stomach versus the proteases that work in the small intestine? Right?
Because like at different pHs, they work at like different rates.
Yeah, if you remember when we studied enzymes, the rate of enzyme activity varies with pH. pH is one of the factors that influences how enzymes work. And enzymes that are produced and released into the stomach, they work best at low pHs. So if you're going to look at their graph, it goes up during a low pH and then drops down. But then the enzymes that work in the intestines, once that kind has been neutralized, the pH is brought up, they work better at a more neutral pH. So the enzymes are specifically suited to the acidity conditions of the various parts of the digestive tract.
Can enzymes be denatured by pH?
Yeah, they can get to a point where they no longer work anymore. The pH is at an extreme of at either end, low or high. And the interior of the small intestine it's not a smooth like tube, it's not like a hose on the inside. It has millions of small projections. They look like fingers sticking up from the interior of the intestine. They're called the villi. Okay? And these villi are very important because they drastically increase the surface area of the intestine. Because the main thing that is happening in the intestine besides digestion is the absorption of these nutrients into our bloodstream, okay, and into our lymphatic system. And so the more surface area that can be provided, the more opportunity for those molecules to actually diffuse into our body fluids. So these villi that line our intestine increase the surface area. And they contain capillaries, okay, these tiny blood vessels that are very thin-walled. We'll talk more about them in the future, but capillaries are only a single cell thick. Materials can diffuse in and out very easily. And so these capillaries are inside of the villi so that nutrients, glucose can diffuse through the wall of the intestine into the capillaries, into the blood, and can then be carried to the rest of the body. Also, inside of these villi are parts of our lymphatic system. So our lymphatic system is sort of like another circulatory system within our body, but it doesn't carry blood. Okay? It carries body fluid, it carries lymph. Okay? And this lacteal, you see here, it absorbs certain materials that, like fats, for example, glycerol, fatty acids, glycerol, they enter into the lymph rather than into the blood. Okay? So this lacteal has that lymphatic vessel as well. And the capillaries absorb other products of digestion, simple sugars, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, all those things diffuse into the blood to be carried out. Also, after leaving most of the digestive system, blood leaving these capillaries, so the blood going into the capillary is an artery, and then the blood on its way back is called the vein. So the capillaries lead here, and then the veins lead out. And most of that blood actually heads to the liver first. So it doesn't go directly back to the heart. You know, we think of after blood goes through a capillary, it returns to the heart, but actually this blood goes to the liver, and the liver does some processing of various components of the blood, breaks down certain nutrients and so forth. So that blood makes a pit stop to the liver before it gets to the heart, so it will go back and be circulated throughout the body.
I got it. True.
So food is passed through the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine. From there, it has to move into the large intestine. But now let's talk a little bit more about the liver. The liver is a hugely important organ in humans. It has many, many functions, both digestive, circulatory, in terms of hormones. So the liver is very important. In terms of nutrition, the liver is a large storehouse of energy. Okay? It stores energy as a molecule called glycogen. We learned about it when we talked about carbohydrates. So excess glucose that's in our blood, when our body needs to remove some glucose from our blood, it's stored in the liver as glycogen. It's sort of like starch in a plant. This is sometimes called animal starch. It's basically a way to store glucose until it's needed. It's a polysaccharide, a very large molecule. And that's stored in the liver. And it's our pancreas that regulate our blood sugar. We know this, and that when our blood sugar rises, our pancreas releases insulin. It tells our cells, hey, too much glucose in the blood, we need to remove some of it. So much of that glucose that's being removed goes into the liver. Okay? When our blood sugar drops too low, there's another hormone that does the opposite. It's called glucagon. Glucagon tells the liver, okay, blood sugar's too low, break down some of this glycogen and release it into the blood as glucose. And so our glucose levels in our blood come back up. So these two hormones, glucagon and insulin, are working sort of in opposite to maintain homeostasis in terms of our blood sugar levels, to keep it at the right level. Inside of the pancreas, there are special cells. They're called the islets of Langerhans. And these are the actual beta cells that produce the insulin. They're part of the pancreas, because the pancreas has other jobs to do as well. When the pancreas is not working properly, when those cells are not producing insulin, that's what leads to diabetes, like type 1 diabetes. That's a type of diabetes that often people get as children. Sometimes, for unknown reasons, the body destroys its own beta cells in the pancreas and they no longer function. Sometimes a virus can cause that to instigate that. Type 2 diabetes is adult onset diabetes. That's diabetes that it used to only affect adults. Nowadays, sometimes it affects children. And risk factors are obesity, things like that. And that's when it's not so much that our body's not producing insulin enough, but that our cells have become resistant to it and don't respond to that insulin as well.
Wait, so if you like lost weight, would you like could you lose type 2?
Yeah, sometimes people that have gained weight or that are overweight could have the beginning stages of type 2 diabetes and can be diabetic. And if they go to the doctor, sometimes the doctor will ask them to exercise more, eat better, lose weight, watch the amount of sugar you eat. And if they do those things, yeah, then that can be reduced. It can go away. It's not a permanent thing often. So if we look at these diagrams that we have here, just to show you a few things. Here we have a close-up of the small intestine. You can see the inside has these villi, these sort of finger-like projections sticking out of the lining of the intestine for absorbing those nutrients. If we look here at these sort of accessory organs of digestion, remember, food doesn't pass through the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas. They add enzymes and other materials to help in digestion, and they're thought of as part of the digestive system, but food doesn't actually directly pass through them. The liver produces the bile, which sends it over here to the gallbladder. The gallbladder is kind of tucked under the liver. You would have to sort of lift up the liver a little bit usually to find it. And then when the gallbladder releases its bile, it goes through this bile duct into the very beginning section of the small intestine. The pancreas is sort of tucked away back behind the stomach. That releases pancreatic juices into the large intestine, small intestine, and those two tubes, the bile duct and the pancreatic duct, merge at the beginning of the small intestine at the duodenum. Now, did we talk yesterday? We talked about an endoscopy, right? The doctor uses a fiber optic camera to look inside of a person's digestive tract. Well, there are new technologies that use different means of imaging the digestive tract, and one of those is a capsule endoscopy. Can you guess what this is? Yeah, basically you swallow a camera.
Oh.
And you can see the images that it captures as it moves through the digestive tract.
You swallow a camera and then you throw it up?
Nope.
It
comes out in the feces from the large intestine.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, so let's.
Don't die, yeah.
Something that I've never seen before, and parts that, if you think about it, rather inaccessible. Well, I'm here in the endoscopy department, and normally that would mean having a camera on a tube either put into your mouth to go down directly into your stomach, or put up the other way through the rectum to look at the large bowel. But the bit in between, the small intestine, the small bowel, has always been rather difficult to get to. You can't really get a camera on a tube that far. So I'm going to be trying something which is at the cutting edge of diagnostics. I'm going to be...
Just let me reiterate what she said if you missed that. So we have an endoscopy, which doctor puts a camera down your esophagus. They can image your esophagus and your stomach. A colonoscopy, they use the camera and they put it into the colon and the rectum. They can image the large intestine. But the small intestine is more difficult. That neither of those tools, endoscopy or colonoscopy, really image the small intestine. So that's what this capsule endoscopy is meant to help with.
Well, I'm told there's a tiny capsule with a camera inside it, a wireless camera. I'm very intrigued to see my own anatomy, my own bowels. I'm having all these electrodes attached to my belly to demonstrate the latest tool available to help people with bowel problems. Hopefully my insides are quite normal, and the capsule will send pictures of a healthy gut to the data recorder which is strapped to me.
This is the capsule.
The camera itself is tiny. The technology which went into its development is amazing, and it takes 2 images a second, transmitting for around 8 hours and capturing a total of more than 56,000 images. So it's taking pictures now?
It's taking pictures in.
And it's gone.
Was that difficult?
No. I've got a camera inside me.
You have?
So when can we start to see the pictures?
Oh, you get it. Excellent.
After a few minutes, I get to see my guts.
Oh, wow.
Where do you think your capsule is now?
I think that looks like a small bowel because it does look slightly sort of fluffy on the edges, as though there were villi there.
You've passed. Your capsule has passed from the stomach into the small intestine.
It is really bizarre, really strange to see this artery that I've never seen before. I think my diet's a fairly healthy one, even without supplements. So let's hope the pictures from the camera I swallowed will bear that out. But it's an anxious wait. Dr. Cockell takes me through the images the camera has captured as it travels through my guts. After 12 minutes, the capsule left my stomach and entered my small intestine. There's a bit of mucus and some yellow bile, and so far it's all looking good. Until... Isn't this a bit odd? Shouldn't it be looping back up here?
That's right.
The tracker in the corner of the screen is showing something a bit unusual. But it just carries on
Normally,
down.
I'd expect it to go across and
Yes,
up
it's
and
just sort of loop up like that. The image on the screen is a bit small and confusing to an untrained eye. I can explain the findings better if I draw them. Normally, this is the way the guts go. The esophagus comes down, goes into the stomach. There's a little C-shaped curve like that, and then it comes back up, tucks up underneath the stomach, and then we start getting all the folds and folds of small intestines. My guts are a bit different. So it's all the same until we get to the duodenum. So stomach's fine, that's all the same. And we get to the duodenum, and instead of this little C-shaped curve, my duodenum carries on going down in this direction. It never goes back up like that. And my guts just start piling up, coiling around down here. So I am an anatomical variant. I'm quite proud of that. Presumably it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all.
After another 3 hours, the capsule left my small intestine behind and entered the colon, where the pictures became clouded by thick feces. I mean, all in all then, does that look normal to you?
I think this is entirely within normal limits.
It's immensely reassuring that my bowel does look healthy on the inside, but also rather intriguing that it's folded the wrong way.
Alright, so you see there.
And intestines. I'm about to see deep inside my body parts of me that I've never seen before, and parts that, if you think about it, are rather inaccessible. Endoscopy department, stomach, or put up the other ways.
I guess we have to save the large intestine for tomorrow. Your quiz topics are online if you need to look at them before tomorrow.
No, it's Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday.
Oh, then why'd you say before tomorrow?
Well, some of you might like to see it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have enough tests.
No, you. Sophia.